let me ask you something. Ghana is one of the biggest gold producers in Africa, in fact, in the world. Yet, most Ghanaians have never owned gold in their entire life. That sounds strange, right? Yeah, let's talk about it. As a matter of fact, a country who used to be called Gold Coast, many of the citizens have never even seen gold before. We talk about it, but for the average person, gold is still something you only hear about, right? Nothing something you hold as a personal wealth. That's why in this video, I want to talk about the Ghana gold coin and the next revolution that could make it even more powerful. And I'm talking about tokenizing it on chain or on the blockchain. You know, this idea I'm about to share is just a practical idea that could expand the ownership, right? Attract global capital and keep more value inside Ghana. Ghana's relationship with gold is very, very deep, right? Gold is not just a commodity for us, it is a strategic national asset. For decades, gold has supported export revenues, brought in foreign exchange, and sustained livelihoods in the mining communities. And this is no exaggeration. But here is the part we don't discuss enough. That is, if we discuss it at all. Gold ownership has mostly been institutional and capital intensive, meaning the average person doesn't just wake up and say, let me go buy a gold today. It is expensive, it requires storage, it is not always easy to verify, and for many people, it simply feels out of reach or out of touch. So even though we are surrounded by gold as a country, personal access has been so much limited. And I believe this is where the Ghana gold coin becomes very interesting. You know, the Ghana gold coin was a shift because it wasn't just about exporting Ghanaian gold. It was actually a way to bring gold closer to citizens, increase local value retention, and I think offer more structured way for people to hold gold as a store of value. So come on, let's give credit where credit is due. It is a step toward turning Ghana's natural strength into something citizens can participate in. And that's very commendable. But this is what I think. I also think we can go one level deeper. And here is an idea. What if Ghana gold coin could be tokenized on the blockchain? Now, tokenization sounds technical, right? But it is actually simple, much more simpler than you could ever imagine. You know, tokenization means creating a digital token that represents ownership of a real world asset. So for example, let's say this is gold, right? It can be tokenized in fractions and everyone can own a piece of it. But this time around, digitally on the blockchain. So imagine a token that is pegged 1-to-1 to the Ghana gold coin. The gold still exists physically, the coin still exists physically. That's it. And you know, tokenization doesn't replace the gold, it extends its reach. All right, it turns something that is hard to access into something that can be owned in a modern, flexible way. So let's talk about why this matters in real life. You know, in Ghana, in fact, in the whole world, right, the biggest barrier to gold ownership for many people is simple: price and practicality. All right, if gold ownership requires big capital, storage, and trust, most people will never start. In fact, that has become even a barrier to some of us, all right? But tokenization changes the game because it enables fractional ownership. That means a student can own a small fraction of a Ghanaian gold without needing huge money. A young worker, or let's even say a national service personnel, can save in something stable instead of watching their savings get eaten by inflation. In fact, a small business owner can even hold a portion of reserves in gold digitally without worrying about physical security. So this is really a big deal if you're able to switch on chain. Not necessarily switch, but make it like a complementary thing. And of course, this is how you move from gold is an institutional thing to gold can be for ordinary people thing. All right, because we all deserve to at least own a little bit of that gold in a country that used to be called Gold Coast. And you know, the deeper point is this: financial inclusion becomes real when people can access strong assets, not just loans, but assets they can call their own in a fractional, more affordable way. Now, let's look beyond Ghana, right? A tokenized gold coin could also attract global investors because global capital is always searching for three major things: credible asset backing, transparent issuance mechanisms, and of course, verifiable reserves. As simple as that. And a gold-backed token under sovereign oversight recorded on chain could become a game changer. In fact, a trusted African with a digital assets, a hedge instrument tied to real value, a low-friction gateway for international participation in Ghana's gold economy. Just think about it for a second. And this is no utopia, it's something we can do today. So if Ghana gets this right, it changes our position in the value chain. We go from only being a raw material supplier to being a financial innovator, exporting credible digital assets backed by real resources. But here's the part I think it even matters the most. If you say one token equals one gold coin, then that backing must be real and verifiable. And the big question becomes, what happens when demand is higher than available minted coins? Coins are not just minted out of the thin air, right? It has to be mined and go through processes and minted. So what if that happens? One disciplined approach is keep fully backed tokens clearly labeled as fully backed. You supply what you have, okay? You mint what you have. You mint tokens that is backed by what you have in your reserve. And if you need to meet excess demand, issue additional units as transparent, time-bound IOUs. And of course, clearly labeled on-chain. All this can be done in our modern era in the blockchain world. And with these IOUs, you can redeem once more gold is minted for allocation, or more gold is allocated. So you see the point, no confusion, no hidden games, no shady whatever, right? People always will know what is fully backed and what is their future claim. How I wish this could happen as soon as possible. For token gold to work, right? 3 pillars are non-negotiable, right? That is clear, legal, and regulatory backing. And not only that, or not only relying on the institution alone, you should also have an independent audit of those fiscal reserves they claim they have. And that is also doable. So on-chain transparency for issuance regulation, and thirdly, on-chain transparency for issuance and circulations and redemption must also be implemented so that people will know if I have to go for IOUs, I know that this is being minted or this is what I'll get in the future, right? So when governance is strong, right? When governance is strong, technology becomes an enabler, not a risk, right? Without government, tokenizing becomes like a story, right? Some years ago, when we talked about crypto in Ghana, we feel like, there would never be a time where Ghana would legally recognize cryptocurrency as a digital asset. I've been in the space for 8 years, and seeing that finally a country like Ghana, that 8 years ago seemed as though that would never happen. To see that happening now means there's nothing beyond our reach if the institution approve of this, or if the institution kind of only support but also back it with real regulations. So what am I saying? What I'm trying to say is that with governance, tokenization becomes an infrastructure. So zooming out, right? This conversation isn't just about gold or blockchain. It is about retaining more value locally and also basically expanding citizens' participation in national wealth. That all of us, we need to at least have a slice of that golden cake. And just in addition, attract foreign capital without sacrificing our sovereignty. And not just that, but also using technology to kind of democratize ownership, but not only centralize it, right? You know what? Africa doesn't need to abandon its natural strengths when it comes to innovation, because we can build forward from them. There's so much to say, but I also believe you also have something to say. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Add your insights and let's drive the conversation. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.